What if the reason you feel lost financially is not lack of money, but lack of structure? What if managing your money was easier than you think, and all you needed was discipline, not an accountant? The truth is, you don't need a degree in finance or an accountant to control your money. You only need a clear vision and a solid plan. Most people do not fail because they lack money. They fail because they lack organization. This audiobook, How to Organize Your Financial Life Without an Accountant, is your direct blueprint to freedom. It is not about restricting your happiness, but rather about taking full control of your destiny. We will explore how to master your daily habits, define your true goals, and perfectly balance your obligations with your dreams. As Benjamin Franklin wisely said, "Beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship." By deeply understanding the flow of your money, you transform from a passive spender into an active builder of your own success. Because financial peace is not bought, it is built through discipline. Financial chaos disappears when every dollar has a purpose. Like this audiobook to support us and subscribe to our channel for more valuable audiobook. Chapter 1. Divide your salary into 4 clear parts. You must understand that financial chaos is not a result of low income, but rather a direct consequence of a lack of structure. The illusion that more money will solve your problems is a dangerous trap, because without a system, more money simply leads to more reckless spending. You are about to learn the foundational discipline of wealth management, which requires you to divide your salary into 4 clear, non-negotiable parts. This is not a suggestion. It is a command for anyone who wishes to escape the rat race and build a life of dignity and power. The core concept here is categorized allocation, a method that forces you to balance your immediate daily survival with your future prosperity. You must stop looking at your bank account as one single pool of money available for consumption, for that is the mindset of the poor. Instead, you must view every dollar that enters your hand as a soldier with a specific mission, and you are the general who must assign these missions with absolute precision. The first and most critical section of your salary must be dedicated to your obligations. These are the mandatory payments that keep your life functioning and your reputation intact. You simply cannot negotiate with these expenses. This category includes your loans and debts, which are shackles on your freedom that you must address with urgency. Every day you remain in bad debt is a day you are working for someone else rather than yourself. Within this category lies your rent or housing costs, which represent your security and shelter. You must ensure that the roof over your head is paid for before you even think about buying a cup of coffee. Furthermore, you must include zakat and charity in this section because spiritual purification of your wealth is just as essential as the physical retention of it. Giving back is an obligation that keeps you grounded and reminds you that you are part of a larger community. This section also covers your other essential expenses such as utilities and groceries. These are the fuel for your existence. You must pay your electric bill, your water bill, and buy the food necessary to sustain your health. There is no glory in starving yourself to save money, just as there is no wisdom in overindulging. This first bucket is for survival, and you must treat it with the seriousness of a heart attack, because if you fail here, the rest of your financial life collapses immediately. Once you have secured your survival, you must move to the second section, which is savings. Do not confuse saving with investing. They are 2 completely different mechanisms. This section is strictly for short-term goals that are less than 1 year away. You are saving to spend, but you are spending on a planned timeline rather than on impulse. This is where you allocate funds for travel, so that when you go on vacation, you are not stressed about how you will pay for it later. This is where you budget for dining out, because eating at a restaurant should be a deliberate pleasure, not a lazy habit that drains your wallet. You must also include a budget for clothing in this section. You need to dress well to present yourself to the world, but you must buy clothes with money you have actually set aside, not with a credit card. If you want to upgrade your phone or electronics, the money comes from this pile. You do not finance a telephone. You buy it with the cash you have accumulated in this specific bucket. Most importantly, this section houses your emergency cash. Life is unpredictable and cruel to the unprepared. You must have liquid cash available for when the car breaks down or a sudden medical issue arises. Without this buffer, every small bump in the road will force you back into debt, and the cycle of poverty will begin again. The third section is perhaps the most dangerous if left unchecked, and that is the allocation for luxuries. These are the things you can live without, but they make life enjoyable. The problem is that most people treat luxuries as necessities. You must be ruthless in your classification here. Leisure travel and picnics are wonderful, but they are luxuries. Fine dining at expensive establishments is a luxury. Buying coffee from a shop instead of making it at home is a luxury. Non-essential shopping for gadgets or decor is a luxury. Entertainment items like video games or concert tickets are luxuries. You represent a person of discipline, so you must acknowledge that you are allowed to enjoy these things only if you have budgeted for them. If your income does not support this category, then this category must be the first to die. You cannot justify eating a steak dinner at a 5-star restaurant if you have not paid your rent or if you have zero investments. However, if you have managed your money well, spending from this category is guilt-free. It allows you to enjoy the fruits of your labor without sabotaging your future. The key is that this spending is capped. Once the money in the luxury bucket is gone for the month, you stop spending immediately. You do not borrow from your savings, and you certainly do not touch your investments. The fourth and final section is the most critical for your long-term liberation, and that is investment. This is the money you send out to work for you. The goal here is to grow wealth and achieve financial freedom so that one day you will no longer have to trade your time for money. You must prioritize investing in education and self-development. The greatest asset you will ever own is your own mind, and you must constantly sharpen it. You must allocate funds for buying assets such as stocks and bonds, which are vehicles that allow you to participate in the growth of the global economy. You should consider using this money to start a small side project. In the modern economy, relying on a single source of income is an act of negligence. You could use this capital to create an online store or launch a private business that has the potential to scale. For those with larger capital, real estate investment offers tangible security and cash flow. This section is not for spending, it is for planting seeds that will grow into forests. If you ignore this section, you will work until the day you die. You must understand that saving money will never make you rich. Only investing can do that. Inflation will eat your savings, but investments can outpace inflation and build a legacy for your family. You must pay close attention to this important note regarding the flexibility of this system. It is possible that you are currently in a situation where your obligations are extremely high. Perhaps your rent consumes half your salary, or your debts are suffocating you. In this scenario, you must temporarily reduce the budget for luxuries or investments. You must be a realist. You cannot invest in the stock market if you cannot pay your landlord. You may have to cut your luxury budget to zero. You may have to pause your investments for a few months while you aggressively pay down your debt. Adjust the percentages according to your current situation, but do not lie to yourself. This adjustment is temporary. Your aim must always be to restore the balance over time. You must work to increase your income or decrease your expenses until you can comfortably fund all 4 categories again. Do not use your high obligations as an excuse to give up on the system. Instead, let the imbalance anger you. Let it motivate you to clear your debts faster so that you can reclaim your right to invest and enjoy luxuries. You are the architect of your financial destiny, and this 4-part system is the blueprint. Follow it with unwavering discipline, and you will find that you are no longer a slave to your salary, but the master of your fate. You have the knowledge now, and the only thing standing between you and financial success is your ability to execute this plan without hesitation. Chapter 2. Do not spend before you plan. As Warren Buffett famously said, do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. You are currently standing on the precipice of your financial destiny, and the decision you make regarding how you handle the very first dollar that enters your hand will determine whether you spend your life as a master of your money or a slave to your impulses. Chapter 2 is not merely a suggestion for your convenience, but rather it is the fundamental law of wealth accumulation that you ignore at your own peril. The vast majority of people live their entire lives in a state of perpetual financial anxiety, not because they do not earn enough money, but because their sequence of operation is fundamentally flawed. They receive their salary, they immediately pay their landlord, they pay the utility companies, they pay the restaurant owners, and they pay the clothing brands, effectively distributing their hard-earned wealth to everyone else in the world first. They treat themselves as the last priority, hoping that by some miracle there will be something left over at the end of the month to save for their own future. This approach is nothing short of financial suicide because human nature dictates that expenses will always rise to match the available income. If you leave money in your account accessible for spending, you will inevitably find a way to spend it. You must understand that the month is long and filled with temptations, and if you wait until the last day of the month to address your financial future, you will find that your pockets are empty and your future is unsecured. The core concept of paying yourself first is the only strategy that has consistently proven to break the cycle of poverty and paycheck-to-paycheck living. You must fundamentally flip the equation that governs your financial life. The amateur calculates their finances by subtracting their expenses from their income and saving the remainder. But this remainder is almost always zero. The professional, the one who builds true wealth, calculates their finances by subtracting their savings from their income and then living on the remainder. This shift in mindset is subtle in theory, but revolutionary in practice. When you prioritize saving and investing before you pay a single bill or buy a single cup of coffee, you are making a declaration that your financial freedom is more important than your immediate consumption. You are treating your savings account not as a dumping ground for leftover change, but as the most critical bill you have to pay. You would not dare to skip paying your rent because you know the consequences would be immediate and severe. Yet you skip paying your future self repeatedly because the consequences seem distant. You must realize that the consequences of neglecting your savings are actually far more severe than missing a rent payment, for they result in a lifetime of labor with no option to retire. The strategy requires you to execute this allocation the very moment your income hits your bank account. There is no room for hesitation or delay. The moment the notification appears on your phone that your salary has been deposited, you must immediately transfer your predetermined percentage to your savings or investment accounts. By doing this, you remove the temptation before it even has a chance to take root in your mind. You artificially create a state of scarcity for your daily spending, which forces you to become more creative and disciplined with the money that remains. When you look at your checking account and see a smaller number because you have already moved your savings, you will naturally adjust your lifestyle to fit that new reality. You will think twice before ordering expensive takeout or buying unnecessary gadgets because your available balance reflects only what you are truly allowed to spend. This is not about deprivation, but about clarity. It is about removing the illusion of wealth that a full paycheck provides and replacing it with the reality of a budget that prioritizes your long-term stability over your short-term gratification. You must understand that money flows away from those who do not give it a specific direction. If you do not assign a job to every dollar the moment it arrives, it will find a way to leave you. This is why you see people who earn high salaries but have zero net worth. They have fallen into the trap of spending before planning. They believe that they can out-earn their bad habits, but you cannot outrun a bad financial strategy. The hole in the bucket will simply grow larger as the flow of water increases. The only way to seal the hole is to capture the water before it reaches the bottom. You must treat your savings contribution as a non-negotiable expense. It is a tax you impose on yourself for the privilege of financial independence. The government takes its tax from your paycheck before you even see it because they know that if they waited for you to pay it voluntarily at the end of the month, they would never get paid. You must have the same ruthlessness with your own savings. You must confiscate that money from your present self to ensure that your future self has food to eat and a roof over their head. There is a profound psychological shift that occurs when you adopt this methodology. You stop looking at your bank account with fear and start looking at it with confidence. You no longer have to worry about whether you are saving enough because the saving has already happened. The guilt associated with spending money on entertainment or hobbies vanishes because you know that your responsibilities to your future have already been met. You can spend the remainder of your money without anxiety because you have already paid the price of admission for your financial security. However, this requires you to be honest with yourself about your needs versus your wants. The reason you fail to save is often because you have elevated your luxuries to the status of necessities. You tell yourself that you need that new phone or that expensive subscription, but these are lies you tell yourself to justify your lack of discipline. Paying yourself first forces you to confront these lies. When the money is gone into your savings account, you are forced to admit that you can actually survive and thrive without those excessive expenditures. Do not fall into the trap of thinking that you do not earn enough to pay yourself first. This is the most dangerous excuse of all. If you cannot save money when you earn a little, you will not save money when you earn a lot. The habit is more important than the amount. Even if you can only save a tiny fraction of your income, you must establish the neural pathway in your brain that says you are the first recipient of your labor. If you wait until you have a surplus, you will wait forever. You must carve out your portion from the gross amount, no matter how painful it feels in the moment. The pain of discipline is far less than the pain of regret. You are building a muscle, and like any muscle, it starts weak but grows stronger with repetition. Eventually, you will find that you are saving 20 or 30% of your income without feeling any pinch in your lifestyle, simply because you have adapted to living on less than you earn. The goal here is absolute security. You are building a fortress around your life that no economic downturn or unexpected emergency can breach. When you spend before you plan, you are living on the edge of a cliff where one strong wind can blow you into the abyss of debt and ruin. When you pay yourself first, you are moving your house away from the cliff edge, brick by brick, day by day. You are buying your own peace of mind. You are ensuring that when you reach the end of the month, you are not scrambling to find coins in the couch cushions, but rather you are looking at your growing investment portfolio with a sense of pride and accomplishment. You stop being a reactive victim of your circumstances and become a proactive architect of your destiny. You must realize that no one else is going to save you. No one is coming to fix your retirement or pay off your debts. You are entirely alone in this endeavor, and that is why you must take aggressive control of your cash flow. If you continue to give your money to merchants and creditors before you secure your own foundation, you are essentially working as an unpaid employee for those businesses. You work the hours, you suffer the stress, and they get the profit. Stop being a conduit for money to pass through and start being a reservoir where money collects. You must hold on to your wealth with a tight grip. Do not let it slip through your fingers because of a lack of planning. You simply must not spend a single penny of your income until you have allocated your savings. This is the golden rule of personal finance. It is the dividing line between the wealthy and the broke. It does not matter how smart you are, how talented you are, or how hard you work. If you cannot master this simple principle of sequencing, you will always struggle. You have the power to change your financial trajectory right now, in this very moment, by deciding that from this day forward, you are the first person who gets paid when your salary arrives. Do not betray your future self for the temporary satisfaction of the present moment. Plan first, save first, and then, and only then, do you allow yourself the privilege of spending what remains. This is the path to freedom, and it begins with the discipline to put yourself first.
Chapter 3. Use a simple method to track expenses. You must understand that financial blindness is a choice that you are making every single day that you refuse to track your expenses. There is no middle ground in this game, because you are either in control of your money, or your money is in control of you. The vast majority of people walk through life in a financial fog, believing that they have a general idea of where their salary goes. But they are delusional. They reach the end of the month with an empty bank account and a heart full of anxiety, wondering how a substantial income could simply evaporate into thin air. The answer is not a mystery that requires a detective to solve. The answer lies in the hundreds of small, unrecorded transactions that bleed your wealth dry while you are looking the other way. You must wake up to the reality that awareness is the only foundation upon which you can build financial freedom. Without strict, unyielding tracking of every single cent that leaves your pocket, you are trying to fill a bucket that is riddled with holes. You will never build wealth if you do not know where you are losing it. The greatest enemy of consistency is complexity. You do not need to complicate this process to make it effective. In fact, the more complicated you make your system, the more likely you are to fail. You do not need to hire a professional accountant to manage your personal cash flow. You do not need to purchase expensive subscription software that promises to organize your life with artificial intelligence. You do not need to learn complex accounting formulas or become a master of data analysis. These are all excuses that you use to procrastinate. You tell yourself that you will start tracking your finances once you find the perfect app, or once you set up the perfect spreadsheet. But perfection is just a mask for fear. You must strip away the complexity and focus on the raw data. The tool you use matters far less than the habit you build. Whether you use a pen and paper or a digital tool is irrelevant, provided that you actually use it. The best tool is the one that you will use on your worst day, when you are tired and stressed and do not feel like doing it. That is the standard you must set for yourself. Consider the humble physical notebook or a simple sheet of paper. For many people, this is the most powerful tool available, because it creates a visceral connection between your brain and your money. When you physically write down the numbers, you feel the weight of the expense. There is a psychological pain associated with writing down a wasteful expenditure that does not exist when you simply swipe a credit card. If you choose this method, find a small notebook that fits in your pocket or bag and carry it with you everywhere, like a weapon. It is your shield against poverty. Every time you make a purchase, pull it out and write it down immediately. Do not wait until you get home. Do not tell yourself you will remember later, because you will not. The physical act of writing slows you down and forces you to confront your behavior in real time. It is primitive, it is simple, and it is ruthlessly effective. If you prefer a digital approach, a simple Excel spreadsheet is a magnificent tool for those who crave structure. You do not need to create a masterpiece with macros and pivot tables. You simply need columns for the date, the item, the category, and the amount. That is it. The beauty of a spreadsheet is that it offers clarity without the distractions of a flashy interface. It allows you to see the raw truth of your financial life in black and white rows. You can easily sum up your totals at the end of the week and see exactly how much damage you have done to your future. However, you must be careful not to fall into the trap of spending hours designing the spreadsheet instead of filling it out. The goal is data entry, not design. Keep it ugly if you must, but keep it accurate. Your spreadsheet is a mirror, and if you do not like what you see in the reflection, do not blame the mirror. Change your actions. For those who are glued to their smartphones, a basic mobile application can be a convenient solution. But there is a dangerous trap here that you must avoid. Do not use apps that automatically sync with your bank account and categorize your expenses for you. This sounds convenient, but it destroys the entire purpose of the exercise. The purpose of tracking is not just to have a record. The purpose is to create awareness. When an app does the work for you, you remain a passive observer of your own financial destruction. You check the app once a month, feel bad about the numbers, and then do nothing to change. You must choose an app that requires manual entry. You must be the one to type in the numbers. You must be the one to select the category. This manual friction is essential because it forces your brain to acknowledge the transaction. Convenience is the enemy of consciousness. You want the process to be slightly annoying because that annoyance will make you think twice before buying something you do not need. The golden rule that you must engrave into your mind is that you must record every single expense daily. You cannot skip a day. You cannot say that you will catch up on the weekend. The weekend catch-up method is a recipe for failure, because by Sunday, you will have forgotten the cash you spent on coffee on Tuesday, or the snack you bought on Wednesday. Furthermore, staring at a massive list of expenses at the end of the week is demoralizing and overwhelming. It feels like a punishment. But spending 30 seconds to record a transaction immediately after it happens is manageable. It is a tiny habit that builds a massive result. You must track everything. Do not leave out the small amounts because you think they do not matter. The small amounts are exactly what is killing you. The coffee, the parking fee, the bottle of water, the digital subscription you forgot about. These are the termites that are eating the foundation of your house. You might think a few dollars here and there are insignificant, but when you add them up over a year, they equal a fortune. You are bleeding to death from 1,000 paper cuts, and you refuse to put a bandage on them because you think they are too small to worry about. This practice of daily tracking does something profound to your psychology. It shifts you from being a consumer to being a manager. When you know that you have to record an expense, you hesitate before you buy. You stand in the store holding an item, and you think about the fact that you will have to open your notebook or your app and log this purchase. That split second of hesitation is often enough to break the spell of impulse buying. You realize that you do not actually want the item enough to go through the hassle of recording it and explaining it to yourself later. This is where the magic happens. You start to self-correct before the mistake is made. You start to police your own behavior. You become the guardian of your own treasury. This is not about restricting yourself or living a miserable life. It is about making sure that your spending aligns with your values. If you value your future freedom, you will not trade it for temporary junk. You must also understand that this is not a temporary diet for your wallet. This is a lifestyle change. You cannot do this for 1 month and then stop thinking you are cured. Financial discipline is like physical hygiene. You do not shower once and stay clean forever. You must do it every day. There will be days when you are tired. There will be days when you feel like you deserve a break. Those are the days when it is most critical to stick to the plan. If you let the habit slip for 1 day, it becomes easier to skip the next day, And before you know it, you are back in the fog, wondering where your money went. You must be relentless. You must be strict with yourself because nobody else is going to do it for you. The world is designed to separate you from your money. Every advertisement, every store layout, every carefully crafted marketing email is a weapon aimed at your wallet. Your tracking habit is your defense system. It is the wall that you build to keep the invaders out. Do not listen to the people who tell you that this is too obsessive or that you are being cheap. Those people are likely broke or living paycheck to paycheck, masquerading as wealthy with credit card debt. Do not take financial advice from people who are losing the game. You are playing a different game. You are playing for freedom. You are playing for peace of mind. You are playing for the ability to sleep at night, knowing exactly where you stand. There is a tremendous sense of power that comes from knowing the truth. Even if the truth is ugly at first, acknowledging it is the first step to changing it. When you look at your tracker and see that you spent more on dining out than you did on your education or your investments, it is a slap in the face that you need. It forces you to confront your priorities. It strips away the lies you tell yourself. You cannot claim that you value your health if your expense tracker shows that you spend hundreds of dollars on junk food. You cannot claim that you want to start a business if your tracker shows zero investment in skills and thousands in entertainment. The numbers do not lie. Start today. Do not wait for the first of the month. Do not wait for Monday. Start right now. Find a notebook, open a spreadsheet, or download a simple manual app. Record the last thing you bought. Feel the control returning to your hands. Commit to this process with the same intensity that you would bring to saving your own life, because in a very real way, you are. You are saving your future self from the misery of poverty and the stress of uncertainty. Awareness comes from tracking. There is no other way. You cannot manage what you do not measure. You cannot improve what you do not see. Open your eyes, pick up the pen, record the numbers. Take back control of your destiny. Complexity is the enemy. Simplicity is the path. Consistency is the key. Do not deviate. Do not make excuses. Just do the work. Chapter 4. Review your expenses at the end of every week. What gets measured gets managed. This profound statement by Peter Drucker is not merely a business slogan. It is the fundamental law of your financial survival. If you refuse to look at the numbers, you are choosing to drive blindfolded on a highway, and a crash is not just possible. It is inevitable. You claim that you want financial freedom, and you say that you wish to build wealth, yet you likely possess no idea where your money actually vanished during the last 7 days. This ignorance is the primary reason you are stuck. You do not have an income problem. You have an attention problem. You are bleeding money in small, invisible cuts that you refuse to acknowledge. The solution is not magic, and it is not winning the lottery. The solution is a brutal, honest, and consistent confrontation with your own behavior. This brings us to the most critical discipline you will ever learn, which is the weekly audit. This is Chapter 4. You must dedicate 10 minutes at the end of every week to review your log. This is not a suggestion. It is a command for anyone who is serious about their future. 10 minutes is a tiny fraction of your life. It is less time than you spend scrolling through social media or staring at the television. If you cannot find 10 minutes to secure your financial life, then you do not deserve to be wealthy. The timing is crucial. You must not wait until the end of the month. A month is too long. A month is 4 weeks of mistakes compounding upon each other. By the time you review a monthly statement, the damage is already done. The money is gone, and the regret is useless. A weekly cadence allows for immediate course correction. You must catch the error while it is fresh. You must sit down in a quiet place, open your tracking method, whether it is a notebook or a spreadsheet, and force yourself to answer 3 specific, uncomfortable questions. The first question you must ask yourself is, how much did I spend in total? You need to see the aggregate number. When you buy a coffee here, a sandwich there, and a subscription service somewhere else, the individual amounts seem trivial. They feel like nothing. However, when you add them up at the end of the week, the total sum often delivers a necessary shock to your system. You might think you had a quiet week, but the calculator will tell you that you spent $500 on absolutely nothing of value. You need to feel that pain. You need to look at that total number and let it register in your mind. If the number is higher than your budget allows, you must acknowledge that you failed this week. Do not make excuses. Do not say it was an exceptional week. Just look at the number and accept the reality that you spent more than you intended. This total figure acts as a mirror, reflecting your true behavior rather than your intentions. The second question requires you to dig deeper and ask, what exactly did I spend it on? This is where you become a detective investigating your own life. You must go line by line through your expenses. You cannot simply glance at the list. You must scrutinize every single entry. You will see patterns that you were previously blind to. You will notice that you went to the same restaurant 3 times, or that you bought random items online late at night. You will see the truth about your habits. Perhaps you will realize that your grocery bill is inflated because you keep buying snacks instead of real food. Maybe you will see that your transportation costs are massive because you refuse to use public transit or walk. This granular analysis destroys the lies you tell yourself. You cannot say you are frugal when the data clearly shows you are wasteful. You must identify the specific categories where the leaks are happening. Is it entertainment? Is it food? Is it impulse shopping? Name the enemy so you can fight it. The third question is the most difficult and the most important, which is, was this expense justified, or could I have lived without it? This question requires a level of radical honesty that most people are too weak to possess. You must look at that pair of shoes, that expensive dinner, or that new gadget, and ask if it was truly a necessity. A need is something required for survival or genuine work efficiency. Everything else is a want. Most of the time, you will find that the answer is no. You could have lived without it. You bought it because you were bored. You bought it because you bought it because you wanted to impress people who do not care about you. You bought it because you lack impulse control. You must admit this to yourself. Mark those unjustified expenses in red. Highlight them. Stare at them. These are the thieves stealing your future. By labeling an expense as unjustified, you are training your brain to recognize the trigger next time. You are building a mental defense system. This weekly feedback loop is the mechanism that prevents you from repeating the same financial mistakes month after month. Most people live in a cycle of ignorance. They overspend in January, feel bad about it, do nothing to change their habits, and then overspend again in February. They repeat this cycle for 40 years, and then wonder why they are poor in their old age. You must break this cycle. The weekly audit acts as a circuit breaker. If you have a terrible week where you blow your budget, you catch it immediately. You feel the sting of failure on Sunday, and you make a vow to fix it on Monday. You start the new week with heightened awareness. You remember the red marks on your log. When you are tempted to buy something on Tuesday, you will remember the audit you just did, and you will put your wallet away. This is how you change. Change does not happen through grand resolutions. It happens through constant, relentless adjustments based on data. You must understand that money management is behavioral, not just mathematical. The math is simple. You subtract expenses from income. A child could do the math. The difficulty lies in the behavior. The difficulty is in saying no to yourself when you want to say yes. The weekly audit is a behavioral tool. It forces you to confront the consequences of your actions regularly. It removes the foggy denial that most people live in. You cannot pretend you are doing well when the numbers are staring you in the face every 7 days. This consistency builds a callus over your spending triggers. You become tougher. You become more disciplined. You start to derive pleasure from saving rather than spending because you know that the Sunday audit will be a moment of victory rather than a moment of shame. You will start to look forward to the review because it will confirm that you are in control. Consider the alternative to this discipline. The alternative is drifting. The alternative is waking up 5 years from now with the same debt, the same stress, and the same lack of progress. The alternative is allowing the marketing departments of billion-dollar corporations to dictate how you live your life. They know how to manipulate your psychology to make you spend. If you do not have your own review process, you are defenseless against their tactics. The weekly audit is your shield. It is your time to reclaim your authority over your resources. It is the 10 minutes where you remind yourself that you are the master of your money, not its slave. You are the CEO of your household, and a CEO who does not review the financial reports is a CEO who will bankrupt the company. You must treat your personal finances with the same seriousness that a corporation treats its balance sheet. Do not underestimate the power of the question regarding whether you could have lived without an item. This question attacks the root of consumerism. We are conditioned to believe that we need things to be happy, to be complete, or to be successful. This is a lie. When you force yourself to answer that question every week, you begin to deprogram your mind. You realize that you were perfectly fine before you bought the item, and you would have been perfectly fine without it. You start to see that the temporary dopamine rush of a purchase evaporates almost instantly, leaving you only with less money and more clutter. This realization is the beginning of true wealth. Wealth is not having a lot of things. Wealth is having options. Every time you identify an unjustified expense and eliminate it, you are buying your freedom. You are buying your time. You are buying your peace of mind. This process will be uncomfortable at first. You will feel shame. You will feel regret. You might even feel anger at yourself for being so careless. Good. Let those emotions burn. Use that negative energy to fuel your transformation. Do not run from the bad feelings. The pain of discipline is far less than the pain of regret. If you avoid the audit because it makes you feel bad, you are choosing to remain a child. An adult faces the mess they have made and cleans it up. You must be an adult. You must take the 10 minutes. You must write down the numbers. You must judge your actions without mercy. If you coddle yourself, you will stay broke. If you are hard on yourself during the audit, life will become easier for you in the long run. Eventually, this weekly review will become automatic. It will become a ritual that grounds you. You will not be able to start your new week without closing out the old one. You will find that your spending naturally decreases simply because you know you have to report it to yourself. You will stop buying the coffee because you do not want to write it down on Sunday. You will stop the impulse purchase because you do not want to explain it to yourself during the audit. The mere act of observation changes the outcome. This is the power of the feedback loop. It creates a gap between the stimulus and the response, giving you the space to make a better decision. You have the knowledge now. You know exactly what to do. You have the 3 questions. You know the time commitment. You understand the stakes. There are no more excuses left for you. The only thing standing between you and financial order is your willingness to do the work. Do not say you are too busy. Do not say you are not good with numbers. Do not say you will start next month. Start this week. Review your expenses. Face the truth. Adjust your course. This is how you win. This is how you organize your financial life without an accountant. You become your own accountant. You become your own auditor. You become the master of your destiny. The path is clear, and the method is proven. Now, you must execute. Chapter 5. Set clear financial goals. The tragedy of life does not lie in not reaching your goal. The tragedy lies in having no goal to reach. Benjamin Mays. You must understand that money acts exactly like water, because it will always flow through the path of least resistance unless you build a dam to direct it. If you lack a specific destination for your finances, your money will simply disappear into the abyss of meaningless expenses, and you will be left wondering why you are working so hard with nothing to show for it. This is not a matter of luck or fortune, but rather a matter of clarity and precision. Most people live their financial lives in a fog of ambiguity. They say things like, they want to save money or they hope to be wealthy one day. But these are not goals. These are merely wishes, and wishes are the strategy of a child. As an adult who is serious about financial independence, you must stop wishing and start engineering your future with mathematical precision. A goal is only a goal when it is specific, measurable, and bound by a strict deadline. Without these elements, you are simply deluding yourself. You need to realize that the human brain cannot process vague instructions efficiently. If you tell yourself that you want to save some money, your brain does not know what that means. Is $1 enough? Is $1,000 enough? Because there is no clear target, Your subconscious mind will not prioritize saving over the immediate gratification of buying a coffee or a new shirt. This is why the vast majority of people fail to save. They treat savings as an afterthought rather than a mission. To succeed, you must adopt a purpose-driven approach to saving. You do not just save for the sake of saving, because that is boring and uninspiring. You save for a specific purpose that ignites a fire in your belly. You must define exactly what you are saving for and exactly how much it costs. Consider the example of a bad goal, such as saying that you want to save some money. This statement is weak and impotent. It lacks the power to change your behavior. It gives you permission to slack off because there is no standard to hold yourself accountable against. Now contrast that with a good goal, such as saying that you want to save 5,000 rials within 4 months. This is powerful because it is binary. At the end of 4 months, you will have either succeeded or you will have failed. There is no middle ground and nowhere to hide. This clarity forces you to break down the goal into actionable steps. To save 5,000 rials in 4 months, you know you must save 1,250 rials every single month. This immediately tells you exactly how much you can spend on other things. The vague goal leaves you guessing, while the specific goal gives you a roadmap. Another excellent example of a robust financial target is the commitment to save an emergency fund equal to 2 months of your salary. This is not an abstract concept, but a concrete survival strategy. When you set this specific target, you are no longer just putting money aside. You are buying your own peace of mind. You are purchasing security against the unpredictable nature of life. Having a concrete target and a strict timeline provides you with the motivation to stick to your budget when temptation inevitably strikes. When you walk past a store and see something you want but do not need, the vague saver will buy it because they have no reason not to. However, the specific saver will look at that item and realize that buying it will delay their goal of reaching that 5,000 rial mark or that emergency fund milestone. The clarity of the goal acts as a shield against impulse spending. You must stop treating your financial life with such casual indifference. You have to demand more from yourself. If you do not give your money a job, it will leave you for someone else who will. Setting a deadline is just as critical as setting the amount. Parkinson's law states that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. If you do not set a deadline for your savings goal, it will take you forever to achieve it. You must create a sense of urgency. You need to feel the pressure of the clock ticking, because that pressure is what turns coal into diamonds. That pressure is what forces you to look at your expenses and cut out the waste. That pressure is what makes you disciplined. When you operate with specific goals, you transform from a passive participant in your life to an active commander of your resources. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming the architect of your destiny. Do not let another month go by with vague intentions. Sit down right now and define your targets with absolute precision. Write down exactly how much you need and exactly when you will have it. Do not use approximations. Do not say around 5,000. Say exactly 5,000. Do not say in a few months. Say by the 31st of December. This level of specificity signals to your brain that you are not playing games. It aligns your daily actions with your long-term vision. The path to financial freedom is paved with specific, time-bound, and purpose-driven goals. Anything less than that is just a fantasy. You have the power to control your financial future, but only if you are willing to be precise. Stop drifting through life, hoping for the best, and start planning for the best. Your future self is begging you to take this seriously. The difference between the wealthy and the broke is often not the amount of income, but the clarity of the plan. Be the person who knows exactly where they are going, and the world will step aside to let you pass. Define your goal, set your timeline, and do not stop until you have crossed the finish line. Chapter 6. Build a solid emergency fund. Dig the well before you are thirsty. This ancient proverb perfectly encapsulates the absolute necessity of the financial principle we must discuss today with unwavering seriousness. You must understand that building a solid emergency fund is not merely a suggestion or a casual tip for better money management. It is the fundamental bedrock upon which your entire financial survival depends. Without this foundation, every other investment strategy, every plan for wealth, and every dream of luxury is built upon shifting sand that will collapse under the slightest pressure. You are living in a world of profound unpredictability, where the only certainty is that something will eventually go wrong. A car engine will fail. A sudden medical emergency will demand immediate payment, or the stability of your employment will vanish overnight without warning. If you do not have a dedicated financial safety net, you are walking a tightrope without a harness, and the fall will not just hurt you. It will destroy your financial future for years to come. You must stop viewing your income as a guarantee and start viewing it as a temporary resource that must be fortified against the chaos of reality. The concept of the emergency fund is simple in theory, but requires iron discipline in practice. It is a pool of liquid cash set aside for one purpose and one purpose only: to act as a buffer between you and the unexpected disasters of life. This is not money for investment. This is not money to be risked in the stock market in hopes of a quick return. This is certainly not money to be used for a flash sale on electronics or a spontaneous vacation. This money buys you something far more valuable than material goods. It buys you peace of mind and the ability to sleep at night, knowing that you can handle a crisis without begging a bank for a loan. The target you must set for yourself is non-negotiable and clear. You need to accumulate an amount equal to 3 to 6 months of your essential living expenses. Note that the emphasis here is on essential living expenses, not your current income. You must calculate exactly what it costs to keep a roof over your head, keep the lights on, keep food on the table, and pay your minimum debt obligations. Once you have that number, you multiply it by 3, and that is your minimum baseline of security. If you are self-employed or work in a volatile industry where income fluctuates, you must be even more aggressive and aim for 6 months or even a year. This calculation is not arbitrary. It is based on the average time it takes for a person to find new employment or recover from a significant life disruption. If you lose your job tomorrow, this fund transforms a life-altering catastrophe into a manageable inconvenience. It gives you the power to look for the right job rather than being forced to take the first desperate offer just to survive. The rule for this fund is absolute and allows for no exceptions. You must separate this money from your daily checking account. If it sits in your regular account, you will spend it. That is human nature. You must place it in a separate, easily accessible savings account where it earns interest but is not immediately available via a swipe of a debit card at a coffee shop. It must be liquid enough to access within 24 hours during a true emergency, but distant enough to prevent impulsive raiding. You must treat this account as if it does not exist for your daily life. It is invisible money. It is a fire extinguisher encased in glass. You do not break the glass because you want a new television. You do not break the glass because you want to upgrade your car. You only break the glass when there is a fire. If you fail to build this fund, you are surrendering your freedom to creditors. When an emergency strikes, and it will strike, and you have no cash, you will be forced to turn to credit cards, personal loans, or predatory lenders. You will then be paying interest on your misfortune. You will be paying for that car repair or that medical bill for months or years, compounding the cost and digging a hole that gets deeper every day. The emergency fund prevents this cycle of poverty. It stops the bleeding instantly. When the car breaks down, you write a check, you fix the car, and you move on with your life. You do not panic. You do not stress. You simply handle it. This is what it means to be a financially mature adult. Do not deceive yourself into thinking you can start investing before you have this safety net. Investing without an emergency fund is foolishness masquerading as ambition. If you have all your money tied up in stocks or real estate and you lose your job, you will be forced to sell those assets potentially at a loss and at the worst possible time, just to buy groceries. The emergency fund protects your investments by ensuring you never have to touch them prematurely. It is the wall that guards your wealth. You must prioritize this above all else. Before you buy luxury, before you travel, before you try to get rich, you must ensure you are safe. Start today. Look at your finances with brutal honesty. If you have zero saved, your hair should be on fire. You must cut every unnecessary expense, sell things you do not need, and work extra hours until you have at least a small starter emergency fund. Then you build it relentlessly until you hit that 3 to 6 month target. Do not make excuses. Do not say you do not earn enough. You cannot afford not to have this. Your future self, the one who will inevitably face a crisis, is begging you to take this action now. Be the master of your money, not a victim of circumstance. Build your wall. Secure your safety net. Do it now. Chapter 7. Master the psychology of impulse spending. As Warren Buffett once wisely said, if you buy things you do not need, soon you will have to sell things you do need. You must understand that personal finance is almost entirely a game of psychology rather than a game of mathematics. Most people operate under the delusional belief that they are failing financially because they are not smart enough, or because they do not understand complex investment formulas. That is a lie. You are not failing because you cannot do subtraction. You are failing because you cannot control your own behavior. Managing money is 20% knowledge and 80% discipline. The numbers on a spreadsheet are simple, black and white logic, But the human brain is a chaotic mess of emotions, impulses, and chemical reactions that drive us to make terrible decisions. If you cannot master your own mind, no amount of money will ever be enough for you. You need to stop and analyze why you spend money in the first place. Very rarely is it about the actual utility of the item you are purchasing. You are usually spending money to fill a void. You buy things because you are bored, because you are stressed, because you are trying to impress people who do not care about you, or because you are seeking a temporary hit of dopamine to make a bad day feel better. This is emotional spending, and it is the single greatest destroyer of wealth in the modern world. Marketing agencies employ armies of psychologists who know exactly how to exploit your insecurities and trigger your impulses. They create a false sense of urgency and scarcity to bypass your logical brain and appeal directly to your emotions. When you see that shiny new gadget or that piece of clothing on sale, your brain lights up with anticipation, convincing you that buying this item will change your life or improve your status. This is where the 24-hour rule becomes your most powerful weapon. It is a simple yet brutal circuit breaker for your spending habits. The technique is straightforward. Whenever you feel the urge to buy a non-essential item that costs over a certain amount, such as $50, you must force yourself to stop immediately. You do not buy it. You do not put it in your cart. You step away. You impose a mandatory waiting period of 24 hours before you are allowed to make the decision. This pause is not just a delay. It is a moment of clarity. During those 24 hours, the chemical rush of excitement in your brain will fade. The emotional fog will lift, and your logical brain will come back online. You will wake up the next morning and realize that the burning desire you felt yesterday has completely vanished. You will look at the item and see it for what it really is. Just another object that would have cluttered your home and drained your bank account. For more expensive items, you must take this discipline even further. You should implement a 30-day rule. If you want something that costs a significant amount of money, write it down on a list and put the date next to it. You are strictly forbidden from purchasing that item for 30 days. Over the course of that month, you will likely forget you even wanted it. If 30 days pass and you still genuinely need the item, then you can consider buying it with a clear head. However, in most cases, you will find that the urge was fleeting. You will realize that you did not actually need the item. You just wanted the feeling of buying it. By strictly adhering to this rule, you save yourself from thousands of dollars of regret. You must realize that every dollar you spend on an impulse is a dollar you steal from your own freedom. When you succumb to the temptation of instant gratification, you are prioritizing a moment of pleasure over a lifetime of security. You are trading your future financial independence for a piece of plastic or fabric that will lose its value the moment you take it home. The 24-hour rule forces you to confront the reality of your desires. It forces you to ask yourself if this purchase is actually aligning with your long-term goals, or if it is just a distraction. Do not underestimate the power of waiting. In a world that is obsessed with speed and instant delivery, patience is a superpower. The ability to delay gratification is the primary trait that separates the wealthy from the perpetually broke. When you study the psychology of impulse spending, you reclaim control over your life. You stop being a slave to your emotions and a victim of advertising. You start making decisions based on your values and your goals. You will find that your savings account grows not because you earned more, but because you stopped setting your money on fire to keep yourself warm. The result is immediate and powerful. You save money instantly, but more importantly, you build the mental muscle of discipline that will serve you for the rest of your life. Stop making excuses for your lack of control. Implement the 24-hour rule today and watch how quickly your financial reality changes when you stop letting your emotions dictate your wallet. Chapter 8. Continuously invest in financial literacy. Benjamin Franklin once said that an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. This timeless wisdom serves as the foundation for the most critical chapter of your financial journey because it highlights an inescapable truth about wealth creation. You can work hard to earn a high salary, and you can discipline yourself to save a portion of that income. But if you remain ignorant about how money actually works, you are fighting a losing battle against invisible forces that are designed to erode your wealth. You must understand that money is not merely a currency that you exchange for goods and services. It is a tool, and like any complex tool, it requires a skilled operator to function at its highest potential. Since you have made the conscious decision to organize your financial life without the assistance of a hired professional accountant, you must accept the full weight of that responsibility. You are now the chief executive officer of your own life. You are the portfolio manager of your family's future. There is no one else to blame if your investments fail, and there is no one else to applaud if you succeed. You are your own greatest asset, and consequently, you are also your own greatest liability if you refuse to educate yourself. The world of finance is not a static environment where the rules remain the same forever. It is a dynamic and often volatile landscape that changes with the winds of the global economy. Inflation is a constant predator that silently devours the purchasing power of the cash you leave sitting idly in a bank account. What cost $100 10 years ago costs significantly more today, which means that saving without investing is actually a slow way of losing money. Tax laws are rewritten by politicians on a regular basis, and these changes can either strip away a large percentage of your earnings or provide you with legal loopholes to keep more of what you make. New investment opportunities appear and disappear with breathtaking speed, ranging from traditional real estate markets to modern digital assets. If you are not paying attention, or if you do not understand the terminology and the mechanics of these shifts, you will be left behind while others capitalize on the opportunities that you missed. This is why financial literacy is not a luxury for the rich. It is a survival skill for anyone who wants to be free. You must cultivate a relentless habit of learning. This does not mean you need to go back to university to get a degree in economics, but it does mean you must integrate financial education into your daily routine. You should make a solemn vow to read at least one high-quality book on personal finance or investing every single year. These books contain the distilled wisdom of people who have already mastered the game you are trying to play. You should fill the empty spaces in your day by listening to finance podcasts or audiobooks while you drive or exercise. You must curate your social media feed to follow credible financial educators who offer value and proven strategies, rather than following influencers who simply flaunt rented luxury cars. This continuous intake of knowledge will reshape your mindset. It will transform you from a passive consumer who reacts to the economy into a proactive investor who anticipates market moves. The return on investment for this self-education is massive and compounds over time. When you increase your financial intelligence, the 4 parts of your salary that we discussed in the first chapter become significantly more efficient. When you understand how to minimize unnecessary fees and negotiate better rates, the portion of your salary dedicated to obligations decreases. When you learn the difference between price and value, the portion allocated for luxuries is spent more wisely on things that truly bring joy rather than fleeting status. Most importantly, when you educate yourself on asset allocation and compound interest, the portion of your money dedicated to investment begins to work harder than you do. A financially illiterate person might put their investment money into a savings account that yields 1% a year, while a financially literate person knows how to safely target returns of 7 or 8%. Over a period of 20 years, that difference in knowledge translates into hundreds of thousands of dollars in extra wealth. You must realize that ignorance is the most expensive tax you will ever pay. Every time you make a bad financial decision because you did not know better, you are paying a penalty. Every time you miss a tax deduction because you were unaware of the law, you are paying a penalty. Every time you fall for a scam or a bad investment because you did not know how to do due diligence, you are paying a penalty. By investing in your own financial literacy, you stop paying this ignorance tax. You begin to see the matrix of the financial world clearly. You gain the confidence to make decisions without second-guessing yourself or needing validation from others. You possess the power to look at a contract, a loan offer, or an investment prospectus and understand exactly what it means for your bottom line. Do not wait for a crisis to force you to learn. Do not wait until you lose your job or face a medical emergency to start understanding how an emergency fund works. Do not wait until you are 60 years old to start learning about retirement accounts. The time to invest in your brain is right now. You are the captain of this ship, and the ocean is rough. If you do not know how to navigate, you will drift wherever the current takes you, and that is usually towards mediocrity and struggle. But if you take the helm with knowledge and skill, you can steer your life towards any destination you choose. Financial freedom is not a matter of luck. It is a matter of learning. Start today, stay consistent, and watch how your financial reality transforms to match your expanding financial mind. Chapter 9. Automate your finances. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. You must understand that the greatest enemy to your financial success is not inflation or the economy, but rather, it is your own human nature. The most effective method to manage your money without the supervision of a professional accountant is to completely remove human error from the equation. You cannot rely on willpower because willpower is a depleting resource that will eventually fail you when you are tired or stressed or tempted by a momentary desire. The only way to guarantee wealth accumulation is to build a system that operates independently of your mood or memory. This refers to the core concept of setting it and forgetting it, which acts as the foundation of modern financial discipline. You must stop treating your savings and investments as optional activities that you attend to only if you have money left over at the end of the month. That approach is a guaranteed recipe for financial stagnation and failure. Instead, you must reverse the equation entirely by automating every single aspect of your financial life. The setup for this system is non-negotiable and requires precise execution. You must log into your bank account and establish automatic transfers that are scheduled to occur on the very day after you receive your salary. It is critical that you choose the day after payday to ensure the funds have cleared and are available to be moved immediately. You must set up an automatic transfer to your savings account first. This money must leave your primary checking account before you even have the chance to see it, or convince yourself that you need it for something trivial. If the money remains in your checking account for even a few days, it will inevitably be spent on non-essential items that do not contribute to your long-term security. Following the savings transfer, you must configure a second automatic transfer directed straight to your investment accounts. This is how you pay your future self. By automating your investments, you ensure that you are buying assets consistently, regardless of whether the market is up or down, which is a proven strategy for long-term growth, known as dollar-cost averaging. You must also apply this rigid automation to your fixed obligations. You should set up automatic payments for every fixed bill you have, including your rent and utilities and insurance premiums. There is absolutely no excuse for paying a late fee in the digital age. Missing a payment because you forgot or because you were too busy is a sign of a chaotic financial life that lacks structure. When you automate your bills, you eliminate the mental clutter of remembering due dates, and you protect your credit score from unnecessary damage. This level of automation creates a forced scarcity in your checking account, which is actually a powerful psychological tool for wealth building. When you log into your bank account, you will see a smaller balance because your savings and investments and bills have already been extracted. This forces you to adapt your lifestyle to the money that truly remains available for spending. The profound benefit of this strategy is that you do not have to rely on discipline or motivation to succeed financially. You do not have to make the difficult decision to save money every single month, because the decision has already been made once and the system executes it forever. The money goes exactly where it needs to go automatically and without your interference. You learn to live on what is left in your checking account, which naturally curbs lifestyle inflation and keeps your spending in check. This system acts as a firewall between your impulsive desires and your long-term goals. It creates a seamless path to financial freedom, where your wealth grows in the background while you focus on living your life. If you are serious about organizing your financial life without an accountant, you must embrace this automation immediately. To do anything less is to leave your financial future to chance, and that is a risk you cannot afford to take. You must build the machine that builds your wealth, and then you must step back and let it work.